In a world where gods summon storms with a whisper, shapeshift into swans to seduce, or spark wars with a single golden apple, love is anything but simple. Welcome to the realm of Greek mythology, where love isn't just roses and poetry, but curses, betrayal, sacrifice, and tales so tragic, even the gods weep. From the heartbreaking journey of Orpheus, who dared to descend into the underworld just to save his beloved, to the desperate infatuation of Apollo, the sun god, for Daphne, who would rather become a tree than return his love. Or the haunting romance of Eros and Psyche, a love born in blindness and ending in divine awakening. But don't think only mortals suffer for love. The gods too fall hard, sometimes even harder than us mere humans. So are you ready to step into a labyrinth of sacred longing, where love can drive immortals mad, or turn humans into legends? Join me as we unravel the enchanted love stories of Greek mythology, where every name, every glance, hides a tragedy, or a miracle.
Orpheus and Eurydice, a love song lost in the Underworld.
Some love stories need no blessing from the gods, no audience from the world, because the pain alone makes them unforgettable. And the tale of Orpheus and Eurydice is one such story. Orpheus was no god. He was mortal, but a mortal whose music made even Apollo smile. They say when he plucked his lyre, the trees stood still, beasts fell silent, and rivers paused their flow. Even wandering souls in the underworld turned to listen, for his melody, it seemed, could stir even death itself. Then came Eurydice, not in a blaze of miracles, but in a sunbeam through the forest canopy. She was no queen, no goddess, just a girl. But in her eyes, Orpheus saw the world. Their love was quiet, yet deep, like an autumn symphony, wordless, but enough to make hearts tremble. They wed.
A simple cérémonie benéat the trees. Nature bore witness. The lyre sang with the wind and fallen leaf.
No god opposed them.
No fate interfered.
But in Greek myths, happiness is always as fragile as spider silk in the rain. Days after their wedding, Eurydice walked alone through the woods. A man, driven by lust, cruel and relentless, chased her. She ran. In panic, she stepped on a snake. One bite. One breath. One fall.
And she never rose again.
News of her death shattered Orpheus like the breaking of his last string. He didn't cry, there were no tears left. Only music. This time, it bled. They say when he played at her grave, the earth cracked open in grief. All creatures bowed their heads. Even Hades, the lord of the dead, felt a shiver.
So Orpheus chose the inquincable, tout descend into the Underworld.
Not with sword or spell, but with music and a love that refused to die.
At the gates of Hades, the monstrous herberu lay down beneath the sound of Orpheus' lyre. The spirit by the river Styx froze.
Even the river of the dead stood still.
All for one man, searching for one soul.
Before the thrones of Hades and Persephone, gods immune to pity, Orpheus did not kneel. He did not beg. He simply played. A nameless song. A voiceless cry. And Hades relented. He gave a single condition. Eurydice may return, but Orpheus must walk ahead. She would follow. And he must not look back. Not once. Until both were out of the shadows. It seemed simple. But as with all things in myth, simplicity is often a trap. Orpheus agreed. He walked. Through darkness so thick it pressed against his soul. Eurydice followed, silent, unseen. They could not touch. Could not speak. Only the sound of footsteps bound their hearts.
Step by step.
Closer. Until, just a few more paces to sunlight. But then doubt. Or longing. Or fear of losing her again. Whatever it was, Orpheus turned his head. Just once. Eurydice smiled, radiant, like the first time he saw her. And then, faded.
No scream.
No curse. Just gone.
This time, forever.
Orpheus collapsed. The lyre broke in his hands. The gates of the underworld closed behind him. And his heart never played another note again. He lived in silence. No song. No love. No voice. Some say he was torn apart by wild women for rejecting their love. But truly, Orpheus had died the day he lost her. Eros and Psyche, a love born in darkness. In the world of Greek mythology, where power lies in the hands of mighty gods, there exists a love story not forged in lightning or war, but in whispers, faith, and longing. The tale of Eros and Psyche is a gentle yet epic hymn of love, filled with trials, trust, and truths that still speak to the heart today. A love that began without a face, without a name, only belief. Psyche, a mortal more beautiful than a goddess. Psyche was no goddess. She was a mortal princess, yet her beauty was so breathtaking that even Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty herself, frowned in envy. Crowds flocked not to Aphrodite's temple, but to Psyche's palace, showering her with flowers and prayers as if she were a newborn deity. Temples of the goddess grew silent. Offerings dried up. And to a goddess who thrived on worship and adoration, this was the greatest insult of all. So Aphrodite grew furious. She summoned her son, Eros, god of love, and gave him a cruel task. Make Psyche fall in love with the most vile, hideous man alive. Let her beauty be mocked by misery. Let her pride be shattered. But love cannot be ordered. And fate has a sense of irony. Eros, with wings soft as wind and eyes full of mischief, saw Psyche, and in a single glance he fell in love. The arrow meant for vengeance struck his own heart. He hid his feelings from his mother. And in secret he whisked Psyche away, carried by the wind to a palace deep in the woods, where she was surrounded by beauty, fragrance, music, and a voice. Eros never revealed himself. Each night, he came to her in darkness, gentle, kind, and full of love. And before dawn, he was gone. Psyche fell in love with him. Not with a face. Not with a name. But with a soul. With the way he spoke, the way he made her feel. She loved the unseen, and in that, found something more real than the filtered fantasies of our modern world. But love in darkness is like thread in the sun, delicate when light shines through. Doubt, the flame that burns even the brightest love. Psyche's jealous sisters came to visit and filled her ears with poison. "How can you love someone who hides his face?" they whispered. "What if he's a monster? What if he's trapping you for something terrible?" The seed of doubt was planted. And one night, Psyche lit an oil lamp while Eros slept, just to see him. In the soft glow, she saw not a monster, but a radiant god, with wings of white and a face of light. But a drop of hot oil fell from her lamp, waking Eros. Betrayed and heartbroken, he whispered, "I gave you everything, even my trust. But you could not trust me." And with that, he flew away. Psyche was left alone. No palace. No god. No voice in the dark. Only silence, and a shattered heart. The journey of redemption, a test of the gods. But true love does not die easily. Psyche chose to fight for him. She journeyed through mountains and rivers, from temple to temple, seeking help from the gods. At last, she came before Aphrodite herself. Still angry and proud, Aphrodite did not destroy her. Instead, she offered a cruel chance: complete 3 impossible tasks, and only then could Psyche see Eros again. Task 1: sort an enormous pile of mixed seeds by nightfall. Psyche despaired, until a colony of ants came and helped her, grain by grain. Task 2: gather golden wool from a flock of deadly rams. By the riverbank, a whispering reed revealed how to collect the wool safely without harm. The final task: descend into the underworld and retrieve a box of beauty from Persephone herself. Psyche succeeded, but on the journey back, curiosity overcame her. She opened the box, only to fall into an enchanted sleep, cursed by eternal slumber. But love returns. Eros, now healed, found her. He brushed her lips with a kiss, breaking the spell. He lifted her in his arms and soared into the heavens. Before Zeus himself, Eros begged for Psyche's forgiveness and her immortality. Moved by their love, Zeus granted Psyche a cup of ambrosia. She drank, and her mortal blood turned divine. And there, on Mount Olympus, the two were wed. Even Aphrodite, at last, let go of her rage, and welcomed Psyche as her daughter-in-law. Because love, when real, cannot be bound by fear, pride, or even death. It finds its way, through shadows, trials, and gods, to become legend. Hades and Persephone, a love planted in darkness. Some love stories begin in sunlight, through laughter, flowers, and chance glances in spring. But some are born in silence. In the coldest corners of the earth, far from where light dares to reach. The story of Hades and Persephone is one such tale, not shaped by gentle confessions, but by the crack between life and death. Persephone was the only daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest. She was youth itself, life blooming, warm days stretching endlessly, the very breath of spring. She lived in her mother's eternal garden, where no frost dared tread, where sorrow and shadow had no place. She was the world's most delicate blossom, and to look upon her was to forget winter existed. And then Hades saw her. Hades, lord of the underworld, the forgotten god beneath the earth. Surrounded by silence. He ruled a kingdom of echoes and ashes, untouched by the sun, unkissed by joy. And when his eyes met Persephone's light, something stirred. Not lust. Not conquest. But a deep, aching desire, to bring a piece of beauty into his desolate world. But Hades did not love gently. He didn't knock on the gates of her heart. He tore open the earth with obsidian wheels and a chariot of shadows. As Persephone picked flowers alone on a quiet meadow, the ground split open. And Hades rose, took her hand, and vanished with her into the depths. No warning. No goodbye. No time to say no. Her scream echoed through the skies, then faded, swallowed by the soil. And far above, Demeter heard. Demeter, the mother, the protector, the one who nurtures all green things, was undone. She abandoned the fields. She refused to let crops grow or rain fall. The world withered, starving under a mother's grief. Thus the first winter was born, not of nature, but of heartbreak. Zeus, caught between love and fury, had no choice but to act. He sent Hermes, the winged messenger, to the underworld. The order was clear: Hades must release Persephone. But it was too late. Through cunning, or desperation, Hades had given Persephone a few seeds of a pomegranate, a sacred fruit of the dead. And once tasted, no soul can fully return. So a compromise was struck. Persephone would spend 4 months each year in the underworld, the time marked by her taste of the fruit. The other 8 months, she could return to her mother. And thus, the world was given seasons. When Persephone returns, Demeter rejoices, spring bursts forth. When she leaves again, the earth mourns, crops die, the cold creeps in, and winter descends. Life and death, forever entwined with the rhythm of a love never fully whole. Many still ask, is this love? If it begins in abduction? If a girl is pulled into darkness without being asked? But Greek mythology doesn't fit into clean lines or clear judgments. Persephone, once a girl who gathered flowers, became queen of the underworld. She learned to rule, to decide, to speak in a land of silence. She was not just a victim, she was a survivor, a sovereign. She chose to stay. She turned barren soil into a throne. Perhaps Hades was wrong. But their love, if it could survive guilt, grief, and eternal winter, became proof that sometimes, even in darkness, something can bloom. When love isn't just romantic, but a curse of fate. From the innocent devotion of Eros and Psyche, where each trial is a step toward joy, to the tragic longing of Orpheus and Eurydice, where a single glance can tear a soul apart. Greek mythology teaches us that love is never simple. These aren't just love stories. They are mythic tragedies, written in blood, longing, trust, and sometimes betrayal.
The god loved like human.
They made mistakes like us. But their pain echoes deeper, echoes forever. Because those stories, though born thousands of years ago, still pierce our hearts today. Why? Because they aren't just about gods. They're about us. And what do they teach us? That love takes courage.
It takes faith.
But also the wisdom to know, not every love is meant to last. Some people pass through our lives like wind, leaving a scar that never heals. Some come to teach us sacrifice. And some, to remind us, never look back once you've chosen the path together. Myth is a mirror. And the love within it, whether beautiful or painful,
is nothing less than the shattered piece of our own human hearts. If this story touched something in you,
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so we can continue uncovering the legends still buried beneath the dust of time. Because every myth is a soul waiting to be heard.